Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. Today is another LEGO Top 10 MOCs of the Week episode where we look at the coolest MOCs that we happen to see people making out of LEGO throughout the week. And as always, if you want your own builds to appear in this episode, we have fan MOC submissions that run by at the end of the episode, and you can check out the link in the description below to the proper email to send your pictures to. And that's it for an intro, so we're just going to jump right into the very first build. This is number 10, the Enth-Wing Starfighter by Jake RF. According to the description, the actual shape of this ship is based on a certain letter, a common letter that you see within the sort of alphabet that is common throughout the Star Wars universe. So that's kind of an interesting and sort of fun way to approach a ship design, and I feel like the build style really does mimic something that we might see within the Star Wars universe. Of course, the use of the X-Wing windscreen and a slot for an astromech droid in the back is kind of a Star Wars giveaway, but personally I think there's just something about the build style that does kind of really lend itself to the universe. I especially like the build for the intakes, or what looks kind of like intakes, and sort of the different angle of wedge pieces we have right by the back end of the cockpit. And though this builder has a wide variety of build styles, I am very fond of the different ship designs to come from this guy. I highly recommend you check out the flicker if you want to see more of this cool stuff, and check out the flickers of everybody that I mentioned in this episode. Number 2 is awesome. This is a LEGO Sopwith, or Sopwith Camel. There's actually a LEGO set that is produced at a much larger scale to this build, but here we have something that looks pretty much accurate to minifig scale, and personally this is just one of the better biplane builds that I've seen. I especially like the connection points between the top layer of the wings and the bottom layer, and the build for the tail and rudders feels really accurate. The builder of this design was Wesley, and number 8 in the line is called Utopia by Milan Sekiz. We've got a lot of great landscapes from this builder, and what sticks out about this build sort of right off the bat that I think works really well is the different colors that we have for the trees. You can see it's kind of between fall or something, like summer and fall, and though looking at this build sort of at first glance it really does feel like sort of a nature scene or a more outdoorsy scene, I feel like the most impressive bit of building is the actual architecture for this structure. I'm a big fan of the way this builder managed to create the thatched design for the roof, and in general I can see why this person decided to use the title Utopia to describe this scene. Now number 7 is another starship, also built by another great builder that just does tons of awesome starship designs. This is Sunder 59's Red Arrow Express. We have a really interesting sort of curve that comes down along these sort of nice sloped pieces, and usually I don't see a subtle curve like this employed in a ship build unless it's on a much larger scale. I just love that we have a nice subtle easy curve right in the front, and that makes for a very unique sort of ship shape all around. I have a feeling based on the other designs that we see from this builder that this might be sort of a midi scale version of a ship that would probably be very large in the actual universe it's from. Number 6 is Battlefront, Battle of Theed, or at least this is the Battle of Theed that has been most recently inspired by the Battlefront game. It's built by the creator KW Vauban, and here we have a very complete looking palace scene from Naboo. I love the cleanliness of the structures. Everything seems very sort of smooth and curved, very well maintained, which is of course the way this place was before the battle. And it seems based on what we're looking at that the fighting is just starting to take place, because if you've played this game, you know things do get a little bit crazy in terms of destruction. That is also a custom built speeder, and personally I would love to see how crazy the actual battle scene could get on a diorama like this. Moving down to number 5, this is called A Cold Day in Hell by Barthezz Brick. Now this is a great looking scene for a lot of reasons. Not only is the architecture really wonderful, there's a lot of sort of broken down kind of grungy little details to observe, but you can also see that there's a murder scene at the bottom of this at the bottom of the floor. It looks like somebody might have fallen off or was pushed off the edge of the roof or a balcony or something. And according to the description, based on what you can see within the details of the build, you might actually be able to guess who the killer is. So this is a combination of awesome building, but there's also kind of a fun, mysterious element behind it. And I personally don't have any clues, but maybe you guys can check out the build in further detail yourself and make a guess. Now, on a lighter note, this is a little bit more of a funny build. This is Fateful Errors of Mankind by Oliver Becker. So this looks like sort of the early days of man. This is some sort of a funny build for a caveman, and he's in what looks like a pretty prehistoric nature element. The critters that are around him look a little bit funny, underdeveloped, or maybe just within a different, development period of life itself. And then of course we have this amazing build for a bear in the back. He looks both really scary but also very comical. He kind of reminds me of how like Claymation Studios makes creatures, and in general there seems to be a very sort of cohesive cartoony vibe all about this particular build. For this next one, the builder Red2 has been doing a lot of really cool car builds recently, and this last one, which is a 1950s flatbed, has really been making the waves. It's not just one thing to recreate sort of an accurate shape out of Lego, but really good builders can also kind of put their own sort of flavor or twist or just sort of distinct building style into whatever it is that they're creating, and well, this is a great example of that. The sort of staggered layers of all these different sloped pieces definitely gives you sort of, you know, the impression and the idea of what this smooth kind of truck is going to look like, but it also still has a pretty fun Lego feel because all the blocked layers are indeed staggered to begin with. On top of that, it is still a completely snotted out technique. There's no studs showing on this build at all, and if you guys find this build impressive, I highly recommend you check out some of the other creations from this particular flicker. Now, number 2 is also another vehicle build, but not only is it a vehicle, it's something with quite a bit of personality as well. It's called Modified Jeep Rubicon by the builder Scott, and it looks like whoever owns this vehicle probably does a lot of anything and everything. You can see just about every outdoor activity strapped onto the vehicle in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, this Jeep has been modified with some incredible suspension, and on top of all this, I also see a really cool build for the motorbike in the back. It looks like a really fun dirt bike, and I particularly like sort of how the wheels were built for the dirt bike to show the ridiculously large treads. Those are actually just studs sticking all around the outside. And the more you look at this particular build, the more things you can see in it, the more activities, the more hobbies. This person seems like a lot of fun to hang out with, and I believe is probably rarely left indoors playing with Lego. That's just a guess though. Now, moving on to the number 1 build of the week. This doesn't just get number 1 because it's massive. I mean, let's face it, guys, this thing is huge. It's just ginormous. But as they say, the devil is in the details, or maybe they say that, but there's a lot of details in here that are definitely not worth skipping over. We have some really fun archway builds going up and down sort of the entire lower section of the castles. The flora and fauna on the bottom is really diverse. I mean, I can see tons of different types of builds for trees. You can pretty much kind of tell what types of trees you're looking at, like the actual different styles of building is really distinct. The structures and houses all have their own really sort of fun different personalities, and of course this isn't just a sort of static scene of daily life. It looks like this place is a little bit of a dragon problem as well. I encourage you guys to take a closer look at all the MOCs, but especially this one. There's a bit of a battle siege, and things look really fun and unique. Even on an individual minifigure character base, you can see some really fun combinations of parts. This is one of the builds at a Lego convention that would always have a crowd around it, I'm sure, and a well-deserved one because you can just kind of get lost in all the different little scenes. Anyways, that's going to be it for the Lego Top 10 MOCs of the week. Now it is for your guys' MOCs, the fan MOC creations to fly by. If you have your own designs that you want to show off during a Lego Top 10 MOC of the Week episode, you can check out the link in the description below. That is BrickVault fanmocs@gmail.com. And thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Here are the fan MOCs of the week.